Hi, this is a pre-recording for a client presentation that will be held on November 21st, 2017 at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This presentation is part of a practicum, which is part of the Practicum in Educational Technology course. This course is part of the curriculum for the online Masters in Learning Technologies program that is part of the Ohio State University. The agenda for the meeting is to start with introductions, then discuss the details of the project, show the final product and changes made from the original, and conclusions based on data gathered from a survey of participants. And finally, we'll have time for questions. My name is Anna Leach, and I am in my final semester of the online Masters of Learning Technology program at The Ohio State University. I will not be present in person for the presentation to the client because I live in Tucson, Arizona. As part of my practicum, I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Cindy Zelafrau to revise a module overview page as part of the Foundations of Evidence-Based Practice, or EBP, in Healthcare, which is a massive open online course, otherwise known as a MOOC. It was created and is facilitated by the Center for Transdisciplinary Evidence-Based Practice at The Ohio State University College of Nursing. Dr. Quay Shea is my advisor both in the program and for this practicum project. He helped me to create realistic expectations for the project and gave me the initial go-ahead to work with Dr. Zelafrau. Dr. Ana Paula Correa is a faculty member that is part of the Master of Online Learning Technologies program and will be my second reader for this project. Let's dive into the details. In early August of this year, Dr. Zelafrau and I had several email conversations about the possibilities of working together. Our initial conversation concluded that Dr. Zelafrau would like me to work on the EBP MOOC and that we would work out specifics and details later on in the month. I then spoke with Dr. Quay Shea about the details, and he helped me to consider the scope of the project. Originally, I wanted to revamp the whole thing, but he said to consider the amount of time the practicum allowed. Dr. Zelafrau was able to get me access to the EBP MOOC, and after reviewing it, we had a second conversation in early September to discuss details and expectations. We determined that I would work on revitalizing the course overview for only one module of the 6 that are part of the EBP MOOC. We decided on Module 2 because the participants would have had exposure to the original version of the map in Module 1 and then the new version in Module 2. Dr. Zelafrau said almost all participants complete Module 1 and 2. So the project goal is to take the existing Module 2 overview for that second module and revitalize it into a module map. This is a snip of the Module 2 overview page. The original overview contains the learning objectives and a list of what is in the module and the time it will take to complete each component. The original layout was compact and simple. So I set to work, first researching course maps, but there isn't a lot on the subject, which I'm keeping in mind. But I was able to extrapolate some information from some research articles and books. According to the most recently published Tech Trends article from the Association for Educational Communication and Technology, or AECT, authors Watson, Bishop, and Ferdinand James gathered feedback from online master students. According to their article, 3 of the top 10 instructional strategies recommended by these online master students is to provide clear and concise expectations, provide step-by-step learning guidance, and organize the materials for the course. Similarly, in the book Teach Beyond Your Reach by Robin Neerdorf, the discussion about the benefits of using a single-purpose document were articulated. For this project, I'm considering a module map as a single-purpose document. The author claims that the single-purpose documents is easier to find and absorb Therefore, we will have everything the student needs to know in a single purpose page titled the module map. The last thing the author discussed that I will bring up here is that online readers naturally scan the materials rather than reading every word. There was an emphasis on the need to use headlines, icons, different colored fonts and sizes, and other elements to stop the scanning process. The current module overview doesn't have many or any breakups, so in the revised version, you'll see that the font sizes are changed. There are headers that are clear and different boldings to break up your eye scan. So to address the needs that we just talked about, we're going to reorganize the layout. Then we're going to add links to the readings and optional activities. This is important because it really truly makes the page a one-stop shop for the student. They start there and they can go in any direction. We're going to revamp the learning objectives, make them more verb-pactful. And lastly, we're going to add a video. Approximately 2 to 3 minutes should be enough. The video needs to capture what was discussed in Module 1 and then simply discuss what's in Module 2. We don't know, because it's a MOOC, how long the student or participant will wait between Module 1 and Module 2. So we just want to reinstate the previous learning objectives and how they were solidified. So, and now the final product. So starting with the naming convention of the page, originally it said Module 2 Overview, but I changed it to Start Here for Module 2. The word overview is indicative of a place to start. I agree, but I had to consider the audience a bit. Dr. Zelifrau was very clear in emphasizing that the course is taken internationally, across the world. So I thought a more directive phrasing would emphasize the need for the participant to start at that page. You'll also notice something that I have not mentioned yet, or only briefly mentioned, is that I created a survey with Dr. Zelifrau's approval to gather information from the participants specifically on the module roadmap. I would like to show you the module on screen here. So here's the Module 2 roadmap. Start here for Module 2. You can see that I've highlighted this in red to capture the eye, then suggested watching the introductory video and specified the amount of time it would take. I did not build in captionings into the YouTube video, but I did provide instructions on how to get to those captionings. We'll come back to this video in a moment. The objectives were restructured a bit to be more specific and tie into vocabulary words that Dr. Bernie Melnick used in her lectures in Module 1, and then tie into the vocabulary words that Dr. Lynn Gallagher Ford uses for her objectives in Module 2. I also added some bold headings and links to each one of the lectures as well as each one of the readings. I then grouped the information that are optional activities under practice and had them bolded and linked as well. This survey component is not a link, and it's at the end of the module so that a student doesn't jump forward. I felt it was important for them to go through the flow of the class because some of the questions ask about how it fits in. So now let's go ahead to this video.
Hello and welcome to Module 2, Spirit of Inquiry and Formulating a P-Code Question. In Module 1, Dr. Melnick made a strong case for the use of evidence-based practice in healthcare.
So here is where we're going to just go over the previous Module 1 information. Here we're going to introduce the students to the new Module 2. First the instructor and then the objectives. We also will then give the students an idea of what their lecture is going to look like in the next part.
There are 2 lectures, approximately 20 minutes in length each.
We're also giving them the information about how much time it's going to take.
The lectures are embedded in Canvas.
The next thing we're going to do is show them what their optional readings are going to look like.
Next, you have two optional readings. The links in the reading page in your module will take you to the American Journal of Nursing, where you are able to use the article tools section to view the full text online.
This is just to make sure that they're familiar with it. I wasn't sure how many of the audience were familiar with the layout of the American Journal of Nursing page, so I wanted them to be aware of their options. So that is overviewed briefly. We then go through each component of the module map, discussing the optional discussion, optional activities.
Thank you for joining
And then we
us.
thank them for their participation. Okay, now to the conclusions. So let's discuss the survey results and some of the changes that I think need to be made. So first, the survey was done in Qualtrics, which is used by OSU, and I've had some experience with in the past, so I went with that first. I did create the survey initially and then send it to Dr. Zelifrau. She provided me with feedback specifically on the language, making sure that I was clear in my word selection, given that this is used internationally. I asked questions about their feelings about the course map, whether or not it provided clear expectations, was organized, clear and readable, engaging, set the tone for the rest of the module, and it felt like a coherent component of the module, because I felt like those were all necessary pieces of the course map. It should set the tone, it should get you engaged, it should get you excited. So the data we collected, the map and the survey were implemented on October 9th, and the data was collected through the end of the open session, which it ended on November 17th. 11 people started the survey, but 8 participants completed it. So the data that I gathered here is from the 8 participants. The survey took on average 55 seconds. And this was the first MOOC for 6 of the participants, which I thought was interesting. Most of the people were happy with the course map or the course overview page. One person selected strongly disagree for everything, but then said they liked the intro video and found it helpful, but provided no suggestions or feedback. So I don't know how to take that data, but I'm just going to keep it incorporated as we discuss our percentages. The engaging question as well was interesting. I was curious about why this number laid the way it did. Most people, again, strongly agreed or agreed that the module map was engaging, but several people, 3, felt that they were neutral about it or strongly disagreed. I'm curious as to why, but they didn't provide any feedback or ways to improve it. In hindsight, I wish I would have probed the participants that had selected neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree in this survey so that I could have gotten some more information. In honesty, I was afraid to push too hard because I know this is a voluntary, free, massive open online course. I was concerned that they would quit if they had to answer too many questions. So before handing this finished slide or this finished module map over to Dr. Zelifrau, I would like to do a couple things. One, I would like to remove the parts that talk about the survey at all. And I think that moving forward, this component or module map should be left in the Module 2 MOOC. And I would hope that this could serve as a template for the rest of the modules. So if we could create a video and restructure the layout for the overview for Module 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 so that they're very similar to Module 2, I think that would be helpful. I think that would be a good thing. So I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Zelifrau for arranging this room and all the technology support she's provided, and for also being an excellent advisor and client on this Practicum project. And I'd also like to thank my advisor, Dr. Quay Shea, for his time and guidance, as well as Dr. Correa for her time.